Welcome to Teaching Truth. If we want to walk on water, we've got to get out of the boat. That's the simple and challenging reality from Matthew chapter 14, the exciting, the gripping and the action-packed account of Peter stepping out of the boat and walking on water with Jesus. In our reflections this week, we've been thinking about the boat of the church and how the boat can in many ways have similarities to the church that we find ourselves in today. We've been thinking about the culture of comfort that we can find by staying in the boat. We've also thought about the circumstances of the storm which can prohibit us from actually stepping out of that place of comfort and security. We've also thought about the commotion in the boat, how we can be so busy arguing and debating and having that conversation with each other that actually we miss Jesus calling to us on the water. And yesterday in our reflections we thought about the concern that we can legitimately have and that Peter certainly had about stepping out, but about the need to simply go for it. And for our final reflection today, as we think about the boat of the church, we want to think about the challenge to get out of the boat. The challenge to get out of the boat. Peter, when he was challenged to get out of the boat by Jesus, said this, "If it's you, command me to come to you on the water." In other words, Peter was doubtful, and he had to hear those words from Jesus challenging him, as it were, to take not just that first step, but that second step, third step and fourth step. For only by taking that second, third and fourth step would he discover that he could walk on the water with Jesus. The challenge is not simply to put our foot over the side and to dip our toe in the water. That's not stepping out of the boat. That is playing at churches, as it were. Getting out of the boat means physically getting out of the boat and leaving the security and safety of the boat behind. Peter said, "If it's you, command me to come to you on the water." Now, why doesn't Peter just simply jump into the water? Well, this is not a story about risk-taking and, as it were, Peter taking the greatest risk of his life. It's primarily a story and an account of obedience, discerning between an authentic call from God rather than a foolish impulse. And we know that Peter was hot-headed and given at times to acting impulsively. Courage alone is not enough. We need wisdom and discernment as individuals, but also as churches. So what are we saying? Well, as churches, we need to discern that authentic call from the one who is inviting us to step out of the boat. We need to be wise in how we go out and exercise our resources. It's not just enough to have courage. God gives us a brain. God gives us the ability to discern, and we need to be wise and to be discerning. This is not a story about extreme sports, but what it is an account of is extreme discipleship. Before Peter gets out of the boat, he wants to make sure that Jesus thinks it's a good idea. So he asks for clarity, and Jesus gives him that challenge to step out of the boat. The challenge is no less true for us as churches today. We need to step up to the edge of the boat and to step out the boat as well. We can either take hold of the future and adapt to the current cultures in society, or do nothing of value, allowing the future to take hold of us, so that we become like sculptures in a cold cathedral who are no more than guardians of a Christian heritage, who are keepers of the status quo, who have a mansion of lost glories, but a cold, safe, yet totally irrelevant boat, as it were. In the gripping film The Day After Tomorrow, a single storm changes the face of the planet, plunging the Earth into a second modern-day ice age. And the film revolves around a climatologist and his son who tried to come up with a solution to save the planet from the impending disastrous storm and big freeze that follows. Part of the film shows the UK and Scotland freezing over and 3 helicopters being brought down. Are we prepared to let our churches plunge into a new ice age, as it were, where the spiritual climate is cold and where death is inevitable? Or are we prepared, despite the odds, despite the storm, despite the wind, despite the waves buffeting us, to play our part and step out of the boat to help other people, to engage our communities, to make a difference where God has placed us? Are we up for responding to not only the call of Jesus, but the challenge he gives us? Come on, step out of the boat. Come to me. Come to where I am. Because when we go to where Jesus is, that is where the action is. That is where it gets exciting. Where will our churches be the day after tomorrow if we remain in the boat? And where will our churches be the day after tomorrow if we take that step of faith and respond to the challenge of getting out of the boat? Friends, it's time to stop playing at churches. It's time to get real. It's time to step out of the boat, because Jesus, in these days, is rocking the boat of the church, saying, "Wake up, church. Stop sleeping. Get out of the boat. Hear the challenge to go and engage with your communities, to go and engage with the lost, to go and engage with people who need to hear the good news of the gospel of Jesus Christ." We need to get out of the boat.